So one thing you really need to understand and remember forever and ever, I would say, is that people do not really need to be engaged anymore because they are engaged in their own health. The question is, are they engaged with your products and services? And if they're not, or if they are, that's entirely up to you.
So health entrepreneurs often struggle to really understand what people want, desire, and aspire to. And if you know me, I always say focus on what your customers truly need, what they actually want, and what their problems are before you come up with any fancy tech solution. And you know I'm a fan of tech. You know, without understanding their real needs, your startup or business solutions are going to really struggle to gain adoption, to grow. You might get investors at the beginning, but it's really going to struggle. And, you know, if anything, the COVID pandemic has taught us something really valuable that we, in fact, already knew very well. You know, being healthy and happy is essential to each of us. And that's what the Entrepreneur's Doctor is all about, is to help you, the entrepreneur, to create a healthier, happier world. So my next speaker is the author of the marketing book called Healthusiasm. It's a great name. And he helps make customers healthy and happy. So it's a book that builds on his 20-year experience as a health marketeer. He's developed his expertise by working with pharma companies such as Roche, Pfizer, and GSK, as well as well-known consumer brands like L'Oreal, Nestle, and Pepsi. And he's been recognized with several global innovation awards throughout his career. So today, he's going to be speaking about how companies and brands like yourself can create engaging health experiences and in turn winning over your customers' hearts. So please show some healthusiasm, I love this, to welcome my next speaker, health experience expert, Christophe Joquet.
Well, thank you for this introduction, Behrooz. And indeed, today we will be talking about igniting health experiences. And more particularly, I will give you two very important insights to create more engaging health experiences. I've been introduced by Behrooz. Indeed, my name is Christophe Joquet. I call myself a health experience expert. And I've written this marvelous book, which is called Healthusiasm, which talks about how actually every one of us wants to be healthy and happy and how it has changed every business actually. So technically speaking, you can say that I bring healthcare into the outside world and I bring the outside world into healthcare. It's been reviewed and praised by several people from within the healthcare and outside of the healthcare industry, like for example, Nico Smets from GSK, he's a global marketing director and says that it should be mandatory reading for capability building. But also Eric Janssen from UCB, he's a global digital health solutions guy. And he just said it lays the foundation to better understanding patients and creating better solutions for them. And it's exactly what I want to do with you here, because the book Healthusiasm talks about one very important thing, and that is we should stop talking about healthcare, because healthcare as a system, it's too much an on and off switch. You're either in the system or you are out the system. But the reality is that we all have healthusiasm. We are always occupied with our health. When we are sick, we want to get healthy. If we are healthy, we want to remain healthy or even become or be as happy as possible. And this has actually been changing the way that we live. What you can see here on this graph is how our actions that we take as human beings, actions related to our health and happiness, have grown over time. And this is exactly what Healthusiasm is all about. And the impact of this is that, well, while many physicians and many people out there still believe that the physician is at the center of health in the world, and the patients are kind of circling all around them, well, in reality, we have lived or we are living a Copernican health revolution. And so it's no longer the physician who is at the center of health, it's actually the patient himself. And around them are a zillion of different options, a zillion of different tools that can help him manage his health. And of course, the physician is still super important because he or she is only one of the options out there. And the consequence of this is that while we used to look at, consumers and patients as different human beings, what we now kind of realize that these are all the same persons. As a person, you can find yourself in a situation as a consumer, and you can find yourself in a situation as a patient. And so the long old thinking that, the medical industry should be serving patients because that is what their typical decisions are about, and that the lifestyle industry should be serving consumer is long gone. Because if you look at how people actually manage their health, there's not just the medical decisions or maybe even the lifestyle decisions, there's also the health and well-being decisions. Health decisions being the ones that, prevent our health from becoming worse, and the well-being decisions that actually help us to maintain our health and happiness. And in between those fields, the ones that we typically saw largely apart from each other, well, we see a lot of things happening right now. And the consequence of this is that actually industries are coming closer. The medical industry is coming closer to health, well-being, and lifestyle industries, and vice versa. And if you really want to understand how important this change has been, we can look at the middle part, the self-care part, which is also known as the wellness industry. Because if you look at the search terms that have been looked for in the past 15 years or so on Google, we can see that in the last 2-3 years, the search term self-care has literally doubled. It had actually made the wellness economy a 4.7 trillion business, which is, compared to the pharmaceutical industry, 4 times as big. If you would compare it to overall all healthcare expenditures, it's even bigger. So that is how important wellness and self-care and the whole middle zone in between both industries is today. So one thing you really need to understand and remember forever and ever, I would say, is that people do not really need to be engaged anymore because they are engaged in their own health. The question is, are they engaged with your products and services? And if they're not, or if they are, that's entirely up to you. So today I will be sharing with you 2 insights to make sure that your people, that your patients, that your consumers, your health consumers are engaged with what you will be offering them. 2 insights. Let's get it started. The important thing to remember is that engagement in any industry is always achieved when you create value for your customer. Value creation is basically the most important thing to engage people. And if we look at the healthcare industry, we used to think that this is the value that we created, a pill, no service, nothing else. We really started from a need and we created the product or perhaps a service that should be answering that need. The thing is, this is not exactly what creates engagement. What you really need to have is you need to understand what the expectations of people are. And this is the first insight I want to share with you. Let me elaborate on that. Let's have a look at the fitness industry. This is a product. This is a dumbbell. You can buy them yourself. It's about 12 euros, 10 pounds about, and you can train at home. This is the product. If you want to create value, you could, set up a gym, because what you do is you provide a service. People don't need to buy all these dumbbells and tools. They can actually go somewhere and they are serviced with the existing tools and dumbbells that are out there. But really today, what we've seen is that the prices of gyms has radically increased. And to keep up prices or to actually bring value, because that comes to the same, is you start seeing those kind of innovations as we see here, like SoCycle. Spinning classes bring a different type of value. It's no longer just a product. It's no longer just a service. It's actually an entire experience. You sit on this bike, you hand clap with your neighbor, you dance, there's loud music, you have even dumbbells, you dance around your bike, whatever. But it's an entire experiences. And by offering those kind of experiences, what you have is that you can actually increase your prices because people are engaged. If we put this into a graph, then it goes like this. You have on the one hand side the customer value, and at the bottom you have the competitive differentiation. We saw products evolving to services, and we have seen them evolving into experiences. Experiences provide more value and they provide more differentiation. And this is exactly what you need if you want to engage your patients or your consumers. And this is also exactly what they want. If you ask health consumers and patients in 2018, but it won't have changed a lot today, about what is the key strategic priority for healthcare providers, 92% will say it's about customer experience. And so instead of just focusing on the needs, which creates probably wonderful products and services, we should try to create customer experiences. And how do you do that? You do that by focusing on what people expect, the customer expectations. So this is the first insight. Let's just dive a little bit deeper into this, because what do I mean about customer expectations? Well, in my book, I write about 12 different ones who can be categorized in 6 topics. And they go from informative to supportive, convenient to impactful, nearby to real-time, all up to popular to relevant. The thing is that all of these 12 elements are very dominant in health and healthcare today. The question is, which one is relevant to you? And this is the type of exercises I'm doing with corporates as well as with startups. Let me just briefly touch upon one, just so that you can maybe understand a little bit better what I'm talking about and how this is really affecting what people expect. Now, informative to supportive, let's just take that example. Think about Google. If you ask a question to Google, if you put in a search term, you get a lot of information, a list of websites that might provide you the information. If you look very well on your Google page, you might see use one button that is actually somewhere here that says, I'm feeling lucky. If you click on this button after having completed your what you're looking for, it might pop up the right information or the right website right away. This is what they try to do. Instead of just providing you with a list of topics, they try to find the right information instead of just providing you with a list of potential answers. This is already one shift that we see, small shift that we saw happening from going from pure providing information to supporting them by giving them a quicker answer. But if we think about all these smart speakers, they won't give you a list of information or potential information sources. They will provide you with answers. And this is a shift that we will see in any domain. This is also the expectations that people will have if they will do business with you. Providing information is nice. It's still relevant. It's still important. But moving into some sort of more supportive kind of service will be more important. This is just to show you how it really goes. And maybe with a more practical example from in healthcare, this is MedBell. One of the most difficult things, certainly in the States, but also in Europe, related to surgery, is that it's very hard to understand all the different aspects, the whole journey. When do I have to get in the hospital? How long do I have to stay there? What do I need to say to my insurer, etc.? Well, MedBell actually provides these kind of supports, all related to the surgical process, to the surgical journey, and will help you throughout. It's not just a brochure that you get, it's actually a real person that will reply to your questions and help you throughout that journey. Because that is exactly what people expect. They want to be supported. And I have about 12 of them categorized in 6 boxes, as you can see. And each of these 12 can be relevant to you. It all depends on where you are and what you exactly are offering. The most important thing to do is to look at your journey, or the journey that a patient goes through, and look at each touch point and see what the expectations are. But also looking at the overall expectations throughout the entire journey, because that will create the best engagement possible so far. You've seen this happening with a hospital, and if you really are interested in this example, I really urge you to look it up. This is Bourne-Riggett Children's Hospital. They completely revamped, rebuilt a hospital, and instead of just doing it with architects, they started off by speaking to over 1,000 different caregivers, but also patients and parents, just to understand what the journeys are and what their expectations were along this journey. And based on these, I think it took about 4 months exercise, they really are now designing this new hospital. Expectations, and super important thing to make sure that you engage your patients or your health consumers along the way. This is the first insight. Again, remember, engagement is all about value creation. We already said that experiences is a wonderful way to create value, and we used the example of the gym industry where the spinning bikes provide more experiences and more value than actually a pure gym. But what we see today is that even the spinning bikes have been surclassed, if you will, bypassed by personal coaches, because personal coaches, they provide even more value. And also the example from MedBell has been bypassed by patient partner, who is not only helping you along your patient journey and replying you with the questions you might have, or to the questions you might have throughout the surgical journey. Now, what they will do is they will get you in touch with a real actual patient who went through the journey and who will explain what he has lived. He will tell you more information about anything that he has felt, the way that he has felt, how his recovery went. So it goes beyond just the processes. It's really the human aspect of things. And so this value creation, where we said that experiences is actually the most important thing, well, it's very nice, but you can even go one step further, and you can create those type of transformations that personal coaches are offering, or patient partner is offering. Customer transformations. So how do you make it? If you really want to create a customer transformation, well, you need to take into account the aspirations of people. Because we knew already, customer experience you create by knowing the needs and understanding the customer expectations. Well, if you want to go to this customer transformations, try to understand what the aspirations are of people. Now you may wonder, yeah, but what are these aspirations? I'm not quite sure. I don't really talk in this language. It's the first time I hear about aspirations. Well, indeed, I kind of did research for over the past 2 years to really understand what are the aspirations that are super relevant in health or healthcare setting. And I sort of find 24 different aspirations categorized in 4 buckets that goes from preventing stuff from happening to accepting a certain situation to enjoying a certain situation or even improving the certain situation. So if you really want to create customer transformations, the thing that I would recommend is to focus on these aspirations, because more and more what we see in society is that people become more aspirational. There was a time we were just focused on the basic needs. There was a time when we became more obsessed with our social needs. But in Western society, both our emotional and functional needs have largely been fulfilled. And so what you see is that people become aspirational. They call themselves, these are called the self-actualization needs. People are looking for ways to become the best possible version of themselves, even when they are sick, even when they are not sick. It's really about how can I improve myself these days. And so when I'm talking to healthcare clients or pharmaceutical clients or even startups, what I try to explain to them is that it's all nice and good to have a focus on efficacy, tolerability, and safety of your product, your service that you're providing, even your experience perhaps. It's all good to say that you are patient-centric and that you want to put your client at the center of everything you do. But today, you really need to go one step further. You really need to understand how aspirational people really are. And it all comes down, it boils down to making people healthy and happy, just as we said in the introduction. And for that, you have the 24 different aspirations. Just to give you an example, in epilepsy, you can create a wonderful experience, but if you really want that experience to be even more engaging, you need to make sure that it talks to the aspect of feeling safe. You need to make sure that the epileptic patient accepts his situation. And if you can do that, you will have a lot more engagement with your experience, and you will create actually a transformation with the patient. Crohn's disease, similar. Those patients really need to make sure that they don't have a lot of stress. So the aspiration is preventing pressure. Sometimes they just lock themselves up in the houses. So you need to make sure that they can actually create meaningful connections, and they should be enjoying every moment as possible without being afraid of having a seizure. And the same goes for diabetes, of course. Those patients really are looking for an optimized energy. They want to be protected all along and not have a hypoglycemia. These are the types of aspiration that you see and that you actually need to understand and include into the experience that you build for your patients and health consumers. The difference with expectations is that you don't really need to look at the actual patient journey for that, because expectations look at how can we improve, what do people expect throughout that expectations, but the aspirations has more to do with the over aspect in life. It's really about understanding what is important in their life and see how you can, with your solution, with your experience that you are providing, actually helping them achieving those life aspirations. So aspirations is really a super important element to make sure that you create those health experiences that are most engaging. So it's all about igniting health experiences. It's never just about the needs, but it's also about the expectations and the aspirations in life. But first of all, you need to realize that people are super engaged already in their health. They take several decisions throughout their days, throughout their lives, related to their health. So this is one important element. Make sure that you understand that people are engaged and help them to be engaged by actually creating the right value. And value creation is done if you can provide them with the right services, if you can provide them preferably with even better experiences, or in the best case with customer transformations. As we said, needs create products and services, expectations, they create experiences. But if you include as well customer aspirations, you can create the best potential customer transformation, the best potential value creation, and you will engage your customers a lot better. Now, if you really want to think where you want to go with this, then you can combine both models. So on the left-hand side, we have the different decisions that people take: medical decisions, health decisions, well-being decisions, lifestyle decisions. And at the bottom, you have the different types of value that you can create. And you can imagine that there's a company out there who's providing a medical product or a medical service, and they're thinking about maybe just extending that service, maybe slowly into an experience. But you can go way beyond that. You can think of how can we actually provide value for our customers by going beyond the medical, trying to help them prevent from becoming even or having even a worse health situation. Second example could be a lifestyle company who provides a certain service and who wants to go into the well-being sphere. Well, with these types of insights that I just provided, you can actually go way beyond that. This is what these models are serving. My name is Christophe Choquet. I hope that this will inspire you to create better health experiences, to ignite health experiences, and really create engaging situations with your patients and health consumers. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on healthenthusiasm.com or on Instagram @healthenthusiasm. Thank you for your attention.
Christophe, that was fantastic. So just before we stop this recording, I just want to share, first of all, I was expecting a fantastic talk, and this was beyond. It was transformational. I think it goes back to what I always try and highlight to anyone that I speak to or work with: focus on people's needs. But what you've done further is to really define how we in public health, and I've laid it out in startup therapy as well, how there's different measures of need. It's not just about what someone really truly needs from an objective perspective, if you like, a medical perspective. It comes from what they're feeling, but they may not have even expressed it or demanded it. And it goes a step further, they may actually start demanding it. So there's that subjective expression of need, but to go way above that. And as we talk about with any kind of business venture, or indeed any behavior change you want to infer or support someone with, there's all sorts of other layers to think about. But if you can really focus on helping them achieve their transformation and aspiration, they will buy in automatically with whatever solution. They'll give it a shot. It's exactly the aspiration. So I really truly value that presentation.
Thank you very much.